So friends, thank you all for being a part of this wonderful panel discussion. Thank you to Team Entry and all the sponsors, and big thanks to Kiran and his team for giving us this opportunity to discuss a very vast, complex, yet a very relevant topic, given that we are in very uncertain times. And even as we speak, we don't know when the vaccine will come, when COVID is going to really go away. So I don't know whether at the outset I should, slightly tweak the topic in terms of saying, how manufacturing should be done presently, and then we go into reimagining, and we really don't know how it will look post-COVID, because we don't know when that post-COVID era will come. So having set this tone, I would just request each of my esteemed co-panelists to spend approximately a minute each, okay, just giving their broad overview and their broad thoughts on this topic. Now, when you say reimagining smart manufacturing or industry 4.0 or manufacturing 4.0 or IIoT or whatever technologies there are within it, when you say reimagining this concept and philosophy, given the times that we are in, Black Swan, VUCA, COVID, call it whatever you will, I would urge each one of you to spend not more than a minute, okay, to break the ice and set the ball rolling for the discussion. I would begin with Mr. Sachin Sharma.
So good afternoon, gentlemen. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to address this issue. It's not only the COVID which have given us this opportunity to go into a kind of industry 4.0 thinking, but it's been like competition in the global market. China has been a biggest threat for Indian business person. So to beat China, definitely this thinking is very important. And more or less, China has always been on the edge of manufacturing equipments, manufacturing technologies with respect to producing numbers. Definitely, they are producing numbers, but their numbers are scattered into quality and quantity. So India right now is in the state where we have to think about 4.0. We have to look into the opportunities for small scale sectors, for medium scale sectors, and for definitely the bigger industries. For us, we are manufacturers of automotive components, and we are a very small scale company. We are into after sales. Rather, we are not into very much big into OEM supplies, but yes, we have a brand name. We are supplying to India since last 40-45 years, and we have our own established product line. To beat China's product in India, we are and we keep on improving our technologies. This recent development with our technologies is we are opting into artificial intelligence. We have been doing this things not only during this post COVID thing, but prior to COVID thing also. So it's very important, my friends, to look into and think about this 4.0 terminology.
Excellent. Thanks for chipping in with your quick opening thoughts. You did bring about the aspect of China. I would now move over to Mr. Gautam for his quick views on the topic.
Thank you. Building upon what Sachin mentioned, I'm not going to redefine smart manufacturing. I'm assuming that we understand that it is about connected machines. It's about taking decisions based on data. It is about addressing mass customization, global quality standards, whether it is an SME or whether it is a existing established large OEM. These are the topics. However, the present situation, I believe, based on my discussions and our interactions with the segment of, especially middle size segment in India, it is emerging that there are three topics they are really worried about. Number one, a very, very unstable and inconsistent supply and demand side. Okay. On the second, the safety of the people when they come and work in the factory, in the plant, in the R&D, in the organization. And last but not the least, continuing to be innovative with the products and new products, because the new products have to come out in the market so that you don't lose market share, so that you don't lose customers, because people would like to have new products only when the demand will kick in. So in essence, what we are calling this as operational resilience, to be able to address the very dynamic daily change of need. Something is missing, some people are missing, and yet you have an order and you have to reschedule your internal operations, utilize whatever resources you have and move forward. And whether it is the unstable demand or whether it is an inconsistent supply from suppliers, you still have to continue to improve your operational efficiency. It's not so much about efficiency, it's how quickly you can respond to the changes. Okay, that's why we are using the word resilience. And while you're doing that, to be innovative both on your product and processes. This is what I believe is the challenge that most of our organizations and people, especially people who work in those organizations, who have to take those decisions, and they truly believe, and that's where I agree with Sachin, that digitalization and digital technologies, if implemented properly, can give them the control over this responsiveness in resilience and innovation. Thank you.
Very good points, I think, for us to build on going forward. Supply demand equations, risk and resiliency, etc. Thank you, sir. Over to you, Mr. Bino. Your opening thoughts, overview on the subject.
Yeah, good afternoon to all of you on the esteemed panel. Thank you for giving this chance for me to speak. And I represent a software firm. And it's very interesting that, I've been involved and participating in conversations where 4.0 or, technology and IoT, whatever name you give it, was all being spoken before the pandemic, right? Now, with the pandemic, the question that I want to just maybe start on a little bit of a lighter note is, it has only been the CIO which spread the whole digitizing of a process. So IoT or Industry 4 has been something people are closely looking at, to what Gautam rightly said, to ensure if you can look at supply chain disruptions efficiently, to look at whether you can sit remotely. All of us are remotely sitting and working. All these are where IoT or smart manufacturing issues come into play. So I think if I have to take a unified look at smart manufacturing and the COVID environment, I think COVID environment is just speeding the whole process. There are already industries using smart manufacturing, but across the swath of industries, it has made a speeding of the whole process. I would conclude my initial thoughts on that for now. Over to you, Suhil.
Excellent. Thank you very much, sir. I think it's now time for Avnish to unmute and quickly say a few words. Maybe you have a minute, Avnish. Could you kindly unmute yourself? Yeah, go on, Avnish.
Yeah. Good afternoon, and thanks for giving this opportunity. So I actually not from the manufacturing side. So I am handling the IT in ESL. ESL is not a manufacturing, but they are consuming a lot of product. And if you will see the growth of ESL, crores of street light has been implemented, lot many Ujala bulbs and all. So we are very closely associated with the manufacturing industry. So if we will see about the Industry 4.0, it is an inclusion digital era. Means we need to look not only with the manufacturing perspective, it should be like every individual, your customer, your employee, your all stakeholder would get benefited with that Industry 4.0 implementation. So it is only possible by using the digital initiatives and digital transformation. So that will impact your existing processes and how best you can innovate your product, how best you can innovate your services. So if you will see the example of IoT, so it is now in industry, we are most of the services has been provided by or based on the outcome of these. So very robust implementation and framework has to be built on that. So ultimately there are a lot many different technologies are available there, but what particular technology is suitable for that particular industry, that need to be seen, evaluate and get it implemented. That is my
Thank you very much. I think you pretty much all of you put together have touched upon the upcoming themes that I have in mind. But again, now at this stage, I would again starting with Sachin, if I may, we will try and spend the next 9 to 10 minutes discussing the first theme for the panel discussion today. Then that is regarding where do we start actually. If I were to ask you, based on your experience and based on your own journey, etc., Where do we start? In fact, how do we formulate an industry 4.0 strategy? Where do we begin? What are those factors? Where do I start? Now, assume I have to have a chat with my team, with my CIO, CEO, CFO, operations, supply chain, and assume. Now, go to a drawing board. Now, where do you start? Given the present circumstances, challenges, okay, investments have taken place, companies are at varying stages. So, how do I start formulating a strategy towards Industry 4? Over to you, Mr. Sachin.
Very important and very delicate question, because I've been associated to automotive parts manufacturing industry since last 25 years now. Every time when there has been new technology, every time where there has been new approach, the automotive sector in India was not very much comfortable with those approaches. Why it happened? Because of the competitive market, competition in the global sector. So most of the times the upper layer, I would say the OE layer, or maybe the tier 1 suppliers, they were a little bit benefited with those challenges, with those technology advancements, but small scale sector, or those were not benefited, because they were always in a trap of like how to keep their customers happy. Now, in this era, everybody is thinking in a different perspective. If I talk about my company, because normally I take examples of my own company, so I will share it with my own company's experience. We took it as that the first thing which is required, the foremost thing which is required to move ahead for this terminology is to manage data. All the companies have lots of data which are present in their hard files, lots of papers lying in their stores, and many industries they are having record rooms. Even today, many of the industry in India, they are having their record rooms. So we need to get rid of those record rooms and bring all those records into a platform where those records are available for everybody. So that when an R&D is happening, when an engineering change is happening, when a manufacturing change is happening, those data are available, and they are available for quick usage. Rather than only available into the server room, they are available on the desk of every individual, whether he is related to R&D, whether he is related to manufacturing, whether he is related to finance, whether it is related to purchase. So he should have all those histories. So how did I learn about this thing is from the Japanese word kakotra. Kakotra means keeping the history. So keeping the history means you need to have those records. We all have records, but those are in that shape which we generally don't want to do, because today's generation who is coming into industry, they are very much used to these smartphones. They want everything on their smartphone. So if we start up with that level, we change our data into soft thing, and we create those platforms for our new generation engineers, new generation manufacturing heads, new generation purchasers, the data availability. Definitely this terminology will be boosted.
I think Sachin has brought about a very good point. If he were to talk about strategy, I think he will look at data strategy first, in terms of making it available to people, making it accessible, okay, making it transparent. Now, whether it's historic data, relevant data, we can always discuss that. But what he's trying to tell all of us is that possibly he will focus more on a data strategy when you talk of Industry 4 strategy, okay, to begin with. Now coming to,
of course, thank
Mr.
you.
Gautam. Thank you, sir. Now coming to Mr. Gautam, where would you start based on your experience, or based on what things have worked in the past? How does one start formulating or thinking about an Industry 4.0 strategy? A broader question. If you could kindly unmute, sir.
That we put this in perspective. Actually, Sachin has answered the question, but I'm going to give it a more generic perspective, so that Sachin mentioned his company as an example, but let me give it a generic twist. We have all used the right words: data, history, version, collaboration, all that he's talked about. Let's put it a perspective. First and foremost, Industry 4.0 is a bunch of technologies. simulation, big data, IIoT, cloud, robotics, cyber physical systems, 3D printing, augmented reality. These are blockchain. These are just pieces of technology. All of them are not relevant all the time. So it's not like I'm buying a technology and I'll become digital in nature. So somebody did mention, I think Avnish mentioned, we need to understand our business, next 3 years of plan, what are the challenges, therefore what are the gaps to address those focus areas, and pick those technologies and see how my process needs to be re-engineered, so that what Sachin mentioned, in case we need to collaborate, we need to maintain versions, we need to have data access. Here I slightly differ from you. When you say data strategy, data in itself has no meaning unless it is put in context. Okay, so data in itself means I can implement IIoT and I get some data on my mobile phone. Not good enough. Unless I say, this is the production data. Compared to yesterday, my production was lesser. Compared to last 1 month, I took a higher time in my changeover time. Compared to last 1 year, I've got a higher rejection rate on that particular workstation, on that particular component. Therefore, I need to take some actions. So it has to be put in context. So when you say data strategy, it is correct, but data is data contextualization and strategy. Okay? Your question, what is it that you would like to do? We have a bit of an advantage here in Siemens. We actually consume, also we provide technology. Okay, we have 22 factories in the country, so we manufacture, we design, we have many people actually as a manufacturer. On the other side, we have technologies that we take to our customers who implement product lifecycle management, CAD, CAMS, the integrated
services.
lifecycle. So keeping that in mind, we did studies over the last 6 months and a year, talking to people, talking to SMB. Normally, a value chain says design, plan, manufacture, execute, and sell it to the customer, and the closed loop of feedback across the value chain. That is known as the horizontal end-to-end product lifecycle value chain, which is one of the, so first and foremost, my strategy would be, I'm putting Sachin's input in perspective. We need to check out what are the integrated areas in my company. Is my design talking to manufacturing? Is my manufacturing talking to quality? Is feedback coming from quality so that I can implement closed loop quality? Is feedback coming from manufacturing so that I implement closed loop manufacturing? Am I doing design for manufacturing analysis, DFM? Am I doing DFQ analysis? Unless I do all the study of system integration, there is no start. So first and foremost would be 3-year business plan, 3-year strategy, gap areas, integration, data contextualization strategy. That's the first step. Once this is in place, I start getting my feedback loop. What am I going to do with those insights? Doctor tells me you are overweight. Okay, I keep the report on my side. Is not good enough. I need to actually start running in the morning or measuring my calorie index. There is an action to that data. So what is the design intervention? What is the manufacturing intervention? That would be my second strategy. To begin with, there are 3-4 more steps, but to answer your question, what will I do first is to put this in perspective.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I think very well summarized, very well contextualized, and well prioritized too. And now I would urge Bino to add something to this, because both our previous speakers have been pretty comprehensive, given a short time. But I would urge Bino and Avnish to think through and maybe add further to what our esteemed speakers have already said. Yeah.
So you rightly mentioned, I think we are all on the same track, and I totally agree with both my esteemed speakers before me. But I just want to use this as an example. I'll tell you one of the things that I see in the market, being a software enterprise application company, everybody has rushed into an ERP, which is really nice, very good. And if you don't, and let me start with, because we are going to have a wider audience listen to it, let me start with the caveat that 2 applications don't make an ERP. ERP is one unified application where you already have an advantage of using data analysis across departments. Okay, that's one part. Because I have also seen people who say we have got ERP and have got 3 applications. which are core to their business, which is dangerous, right? Second is, I have seen a trend, which I think Gautam rightly touched upon. I have seen in industries, let me just give you the segment of industries, like process industry. They are looking for PLM solutions because discrete manufacturing industries are already matured there. Process industries are talking about PLM. I have seen global supply chain cloud as a solution. These are solutions we provide. So I know that there are people asking for it. And we are already successfully supporting our global customers. So we have Infor Nexus, which is a global supply chain. So these actually make you talk between the supplier's ERP and your ERP and the customer's ERP. Then we have something, the third aspect is something where Sachin's industry is, we are already in talks with a couple of them who are actually looking at IoT with an enterprise asset management solution, because ERPs are transaction systems. They are not expected to. You could do, you could jump a couple of hoops more. You could jump a couple of hoops more to make ERPs talk to IoT systems. But in the true sense, if you want a future-proof requirement, you need a system that is open to AI, ML, cloud-based analytics, all of that, while you also defend against all the kinds of, viruses and attacks and ransomware and all of that. So it is very clear in my mind, with my 28 years experience, that ERPs are internally looking, and we need to look at PLM, WMS, EAM, which can be the segments of IoT as we go forward. So
Excellent.
we play about it as we go forward.
Superb. Yeah, thank you very much for those insights. I think we are all accumulating a lot of good thoughts and insights, and I think the audience already has a lot to gain in terms of what we've already heard. And now Avnish, you have the toughest job to do before we move to the next team. Now, what else do you have to add? Anything that comes to your mind? You can unmute yourself first. It's always tricky for the last speaker, right?
Really. So it's really you are saying it's a tough job, because most of the thing my esteemed panelist has already covered. But I just wanted to add one thing. As I have explained in my first question, strategy is not a very, because if you have to implement industry 4.0 digital strategy or digital transformation in any industry, you need to think your short-term plan, what is your long-term plan. It is not a one-day job, it is not a 1 month job. You need to plan, because if you have already running industry, you know what is the weakest link in your overall process. So you need to target that, because you cannot wait for the overwhelming all over the industry in a day's time, in a month's time. So you need to run your business parallelly, being that all these things implemented. So you need to plan that way. These are my short-term plan. This is a strategy to improve these particular cycle, to improve my business. And over a period of time, you need to implement various technology which are very much available into the market. You need to fine-tune it. You need to evaluate it. And what are the, as he rightly said, like ERP, but we cannot expect ERP, because ERP is also providing lot many modules which is IoT integrated. And if you will say IoT, there are a lot many different flavors, lot many different benefits of different framework. So you need to, which particular framework is valid for your particular industry. You need to think, evaluate, and that need to be implemented, right? So it may be a five-year plan, it may be a 3-year plan, or it may be a 2-year plan. So this particular thing I need to cover in that. So that is my take on it as far as strategy is concerned. Yeah.
Excellent. So being the moderator again, I'm going to put Sachin in the spot now, and this brings me pretty much to the to the next theme, or the topic that we are going to discuss. That is the
sometimes it feels like being first to be is always tough.
So again, to you, Mr. Sachin, and then we'll follow the same order. Gautam can come in, followed by Bino and Avnish. I think now, since you started discussing on strategy and the broad aspects that we need to look at, my simple query to you, or rather, I don't know, it may be difficult also. If you were to go to the CXOs of your company, including the CFO, and try to create what I would call as a borrowing from Six Sigma and DMAIC parlance, a project charter. Now, how would you make your case for prioritizing the investments in any area of technology? What would be those guiding factors, guiding principles? Where would you start? If I were to tell you please give me a 1-page business case or summary in terms of why I should be looking at technology X, or why the CFO should be funding this particular project. Okay, now we are talking a real life case study. So you can borrow from your past, present, future, industry experience, background, implementation journey, etc. I know this question is very broad-based and complex, but I have to ask this question because given the context and the subject that we are discussing, I think it's very important for us to understand how we can go about creating a project charter or a business case to focus and prioritize our technology investments. Over to you, Mr. Sachin.
Yes, that's definitely a tough question, but being involved into engineering and developments, and being involved into a development sector and engineering sector for our industry, which is serving to the aftermarket requirements, we always do reverse engineering. I have been doing so many reverse engineerings, so my chapter starts from there only. I will be doing my project report. I will be putting up the first chapter from the end of the line. End of the line means I will be taking care of the supply management, the logistic management, and my daily sales. I will be taking care of that first, because if my routine has a little bit of sharper demands. Sharper demands means if I have a good channel of infusing the orders from the aftermarket requirements, if I have a good channel of information coming from the customer's perspective, it will be very easy for my manufacturing team to plan in their productions. So I will be taking that thing in first to bring in the ERPs or IoTs or these technologies from there, so that I can bring my end product, my ordering, my requirement of the customers into a single platform where everybody inside the plant can handle that easily. This is my take on that. From there, it would be towards production system. How to make the planning integrated with that customer requirement. And from there, it will move on to the other departments which are supporting to production, maybe the maintenance, maybe the quality, maybe the process engineering department. And this will end up to the CFO. He would be the last person I would recommend to get into all these things, because implementing ERP or implementing those software starting from the CFO or the finance department will always give a trouble. He will be having his own demands day to day, but manufacturing guys don't know how to manage. If we start from the back, you will be easily integrating the whole story. This I did in the last couple of months in our company. We started this ERP chapter in 2018, but it was a miserable failure. Why it was miserable? We started it with billing. We didn't start it with the sales actually. We started it with invoicing.
Okay.
And then when it was a failure, it came to my table and we integrated from the sales. And now it is working very fine. Thanks.
So what you're trying to tell everyone, Sachin, is that it should be more more of a process oriented or a functional approach.
Yes, of course, functional approach.
And that will pretty much set the tone for all future discussions, etc. in terms of what you can, if I've understood you correctly. And thanks for bringing that perspective. Over to you, Mr. Gautam. If you could kindly unmute yourself, sir.
I would like to change the perspective from me approaching a CEO, CXO, CTO, CFO to me and the team member working together and taking this message, not me, but their own people, because it's about them. It's not about me. It's not about me providing technology. As I said, it is not about technology. And I agree with Sachin. It's about improvement. It's about transformation. So I'm going to take an example of our own old factory, about a 30-year-old factory in India, which used to make about 75 odd products the factory, although is Siemens is a big company, but this factory is as much as a small and medium business. Okay, in itself, it's a small and medium business running a factory of a, like a basketball court size plant, making about 75 electromechanical devices, switch gears, and taking it to the Indian market. Now, what were the challenges we had? Number one, the challenges was that because of the way we are as consumers and because our needs are increasing, we have to now cater to something around 300 models, 250 models from 75. That meant a lot of capital infusion, making the plant bigger, making larger assembly lines, bringing in new special purpose machines, training new people. It was an investment which was actually making it unviable. And this is the reality of any SMB factory in India. It's 15 to 20 years old. It is a brownfield. It has older machines. They are not IIoT ready, all of them. All the machines are not connected. Some of them are, some of them are not. Some of them people are older and skilled in a different way. Some people are younger and skilled in a different way. Everybody needs a transformation. People, process, machines. All of that needs a transformation. And if we go by conventional sense, then the project could become unviable. Okay? Because now we have to make 3 times the types of components, and we have to address a global needs to be brought locally, because that is how I can prevent imports and replace it by indigenous, localized, local development, and drive the cost to be more competitive. And because it is sold by our partners, we need to maintain margins and make them profitable and make our customers happy, and it has to be all the rest of the things remaining the same as if it's a global product. First time right, quality, top class, should not fail in million operations, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Now, how did we go about doing it? We looked at it, okay, is it possible in the same size of the factory? Is it possible to do something using technology, changing the process, re-engineering the process? So we started to work on it, and we actually created a brand new semi-automatic plant in the same area by reusing some of the old equipment, by bringing in some of the new technologies like PLCs, automations, automated conveyor lines, video, and in special purpose inspection tools, by automating few of the inline inspections, by making sure that we brought in new traceability technology using barcodes or RFID as the need may be, so that it can separate different models. It can sense. The first operation, for example, is to label the box so that the machines now know which product is being made by scanning. Okay, the moment it reads it, it reorients itself, it changes the PLC programs and stuff, so that its assembly sequences are changed online. So from the same line, that is the whole idea. I would like to present to the CXOs a story that how can we now cater to the new dynamic need, the next level of need, which you cannot estimate today. Okay, which you cannot estimate today, and yet be ready for the dynamics rather than the market and the product itself, because you don't know what the product would be 2 years from now. There is no guarantee. Oh, my product is going to be like this for next 5 years. No. So I cannot hard code. It's like a software guy saying, I will use entries. I would use sensors to pick the data rather than hard code my inputs. And that makes the whole system more flexible. It's similar, analogically similar to that. And we transformed that factory. Today on the same plant, we are making 275 parts, 275 switch gears of different types. We are improved our quality metrics seriously, and we've using lesser number of people, but more people actually studying and changing the algorithms behind. So it's not that we have removed people, but we have reoriented their skill sets.
Right,
so that
right.
now they are doing different kind of job. And this factory is, I won't say it's future proof, but it is more ready for the future as compared to it was.
Right, right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for bringing those aspects, Gautam, because I know there are, no easy answers, and one has to possibly, not always make it intense. I mean, investment heavy. There are many things you can do internally so that you can optimize, the money spent and also get your desired outcome. So thank you for bringing in that angle. I would now quickly like to change the order a little here. I would bring in Avnish first before I move on to Bino, and then he can join us later. I believe he has something urgent to attend to. So Avnish, could you chip in quickly before
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
rejoin us? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Actually, I just wanted to a small announcement. So again, I have to leave at 3:35 for 15-20 minutes for a quick meeting with the MD, and I will rejoin till the time if the meeting will last. So I think it's very valid point that my panelists were discussed. Because there is a no straight answer of it, right? If we will talk about any industry, it is on any industry. It could be a manufacturing industry, it could be a process industry, it could be a IT industry. Implementation of the new technology, implementation is a new process, is again the overall engineering of itself, right? So you need to see what are the impact of it, what is the impact on the employment, what was our employee, what is the impact on the customer, what is the impact on the stakeholder. So each and everything has to be seen collectively. And every, like, if you will write down some note of a one paper, definitely if you will see after 5 years down the line, it will be totally different what you have thought. It is my experience in 18 years of experience. So generally there are lot many things comes into the into midway of the implementation. As in last discussion we were seeing, like, we need to reorient the employee who are not adapt to the new technology. So you also seen into that where you align them, because for the welfare of them. And there are certain component, like, if you will we will talk about the industry, power industry. I have experience in SCADA. So we need to, that the integration of IT OT, right? It is not so easy, because as for the security aspect, you need to think lot many, because IT power industry comes into that vulnerable sector, and CERT has been designed for that. So if you need to IT/OT integration, you need to transform it. So lot many things has to consider, right? So what are the security aspect? What are the employee aspects? What are the technology aspect? What are the thing? What IoT implementation, and what background infrastructure? What cloud you need to position? So because smaller is the thing, easy to answer, easy to decide. Right now, the whole plethora thing has been oriented in IT industry. It is really very tough. Being an IT guys, three people comes to me and tell about their technology. Once I start discussing with them, oh, this is the one of the best technology. Next day some guy come and then he explained this. This is the new feature. So you need to think what are the peer technologies available into the market, what are the processes available, and then you need to decide based on that. So what is the impact of this, what is the ROI based on that, then only you can put the things to your CFO and your management for implementation of these things.
So thank you for those insights. I think again, no easy answers and a lot of factors that need to be considered, given the changes that are taking place around us, and you have been part of journeys which have not been really successful in terms of putting a strategy roadmap, and the gap when it comes to the actual implementation, because it takes years. Sometimes people come and go. So which will now quickly, I'll come to my next theme, but I'll just park it now before we'll first move to Bino for his closing comments on this before I come to my next theme. Yes, Bino. So
Yeah,
what
so
would charter pick, factors that you will take to the boardroom, to make a case for, a meaningful, structured, focused investment in the area of technology, or call it whatever you will, industry 4, smart, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, so I will just take the outline of one of our customer experiences. Somebody who's called us in and said, what we can do here. Couple of things here. We got called in, and there was a discussion. There was already some developing ideas within the enterprise that we were talking to. They wanted to see what can we do, what are the areas. So we also do consulting work, guiding our customers. And what we realized is, first is we need to understand what is the culture and maturity of the organization. Right? Is the organization ready to digest it? Like, if there are organizations which are multinational and they are already having counterpart countries of their operations doing something, it's easier. They buy it. They already know some outline of a use case, and they could make it more localized and put it to use. But one thing I want to be very cautious, and though I'm excited, I'm very cautious because I'm an implementation guy myself, is that it is not a fad. Arey usne lagaya, to humko bhi lagana hai. That is not the way it should go. So it's very, very clear. And there are pain points that you need to identify. Maybe your production systems are not giving efficiencies more than 60%, 75%. Then you need to identify, or you need to look at complex competitive advantage that you can get. If I do this, a product which is already having a good market share, can you help me increase more market share? And these are few things. If I do through IoT, I will be in a better position to take care of the quality of my product and move it fast. That's another competitive advantage. There is also a risk of using analytics as IoT. Analytics is analytics. As Gautam rightly mentioned at the beginning of the call, data in context viewing is analytics, right? You want to see the context and you want to see the data in the context. So analytics is not IoT. IoT is about talking about taking machine data in a very seamless manner. I can take machine data on a piece of paper and go and update my systems in 2 days, or I can use sensors to pick it up and immediately have analytics which will tell me something, which gives me fresh data to act on. So these are some of the things that I need to look at. There are industries. I'll give you a parallel before I close out. There are industries that require real-time in-memory computing, and there are industries that don't require it. Banks require in-memory computing. Others don't require it. Manufacturing companies.
So what you're trying to essentially say is that one size fits all will not.
Absolutely.
One has to be very, very, very specific.
Yeah.
So
one more thing is, Industry 4 has many dimensions in itself, right? From HoloLenses to sensors to everything. So we need to be very careful what flies for what. And as you rightly said, one size doesn't fit all. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. So thank you very much. So now, what I'll do, being the moderator, I'll take this liberty of now moving to Mr. Gautam first. Since all of you have raised a very pertinent point, I want to combine in a manner of speaking the next two themes that I have in mind. Instead of asking, instead of posing them to you separately, I'll take the liberty of, putting these two pieces, building blocks together. The first point would be, what are, the aspects of, culture and change management and, people issues. A lot of you brought about issues related to people change, okay, their readiness, okay, how they are going to be trained in the new ecosystem, were we to go ahead and implement something. Okay, so what are these, softer aspects which are often overlooked? Because we are more hardwired, analytics, data, monitoring, visual tools, technology, it works. We are hardwired, we are trained that way, right? Analytical thinking, etc. Fine, let's park that for a while. I'm going to now get into the aspect of human psychology, human behavior, consumer psychology, employee psychology. So coming to you, Mr. Gautam, what do you think are some of those, cultural and change aspects that we need to first address to make the whole project journey a success, which everyone has alluded to? And number two, if I were to add a short addendum to this question, what would be, the implications for the MSME space in particular? The small scale industries, the companies which don't have the financial muscle to, forget about going to a boardroom and talking to a CFO. I mean, they're, just barely surviving. They have cash to cash issues, working capital issues, etc. Unlike bigger companies, right? So two parts to my question: issues of culture, people, and change management. And number two, in your view and experience, my lead is Gautam.
Okay. First topic was about people, and notwithstanding the huge amount of trust and faith I have in the millennials in making the difference. I do have, by the way, a lot more faith than my own generation. I think they're better than us because they are natural. They are digital ready. They are digital, centric. So one of the things that you asked for is natural, seamless decision making. What Binu mentioned. Let's say you get a data in context, real time. Now you have to make a decision. You should be able to make a decision, right? It means there's something needs to happen in your mind, which is thinking critically, taking that insight, That requires, so my first topic is critical thinking. Critical thinking is not something that we are naturally trained for. Never in school, never in college, we are trained. The first time we get pushed for critical thinking is when we start our profession, when we need to face the CXOs, when we have to face our peers, when we have to sit in front of customer and make decisions. We get tested for our critical thinking. So that's the first thing. The second, I would say, another topic of programming, we are very, very good. We are hardwired to give answers. We are not hardwired to ask questions. And if we don't ask questions, we don't get the right answers. Who is going to ask the question? If all of us believe I'm sitting here, you are asking me questions, I'm answering you right now. It's very comfortable. Ask me a question that what will you ask your CXO so that he starts and allows you to do transformation, I will be foxed. Because that answer lies in that question. I have to do my homework to ask that question. Once you have done the homework of preparing the ask question, I have many answers to give. Most of argumentative Indians have very, very good answers to give. But very few of us are trained for giving, asking questions. So that's the second point. And the third is my risk averseness. That is the reason why most of the CXOs do not give us approval for projects and investment. You know why? Not because technology people don't have technology. It's the same technology being used globally. The same technology that Binu has, which he represents in India, have been used globally by many, many leaders. The same technology that I am representing in India, many others are. Why is it that we struggle at every case? Reason is none of the people that we have in that company, they are ready to own that project and move forward. And we, on our side, we are not ready to ask those questions. So imagine the double whammy. I'm not asking those questions which I should. I'm waiting for him to ask me the question. There's very many stories that we have, with customer CEOs traveling, and he says, Gautam, I know what our problem is. You guys don't know what to ask. You are waiting for me to ask the question. I don't know. You are the ones who should be asking the questions. Are you getting my point? So we have to ask the intelligent questions. We have to get them to internalize the value. Then he says, I am ready to own it. And go to the CEO and say, I'm ready to own it. And no CEO, no businessman, whether he's an investor or a technocrat, will not take that commitment from his own team member who says, I'm ready to own it. So I think that is where we have to work towards.
Excellent. I think, you hit the nail on it, said in a manner of speaking, Gautam, because your answer was, very practical, anecdotal, and very precise. Because unless we ask questions, we are not going to really start this debate. We are not going to have, meaningful conversations, even within teams, within boardrooms, etc. So taking the question forward now to Mr. Sachin. Sir, your views on the whole aspect of culture, change management, people skills, readiness, and anything specific that you want to, add with regard to, the MSME space. So this is a group that feels that, we may not be able to do it, but maybe there are other thoughts that they are in a position to do it, but they just need the right people, right partners, etc. Because my, hypothesis could be flawed. That it's only big companies, like Siemens, Infor, etc., or L&T, etc., who can invest. But maybe there are smaller people who are waiting for the right guidance, right inputs. And like Mr. Gautam rightly said, for people to ask the right questions, to start having these conversations and build that, whole, I would say, the virtue of critical thinking. Easier said than done, sir. I am still learning critical thinking. I don't know whether I have it at all. Okay, over to you.
It's a matter of, I think we have to continue to practice. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Mr. Gautam very rightly said about adaptability of Indian mindset. I would give an example of banking system in India. State Bank of India, Punjab National Bank, all these public sector banks. We have been, since our childhood, we have been seeing their working, we have been watching how do they work. Banking, they are service providers. But at the bank, our parents were like, they were in this position. in Boeing position. And when computer thing added to the banking, it was like a hell for the banking sector. They really crashed it out. I mean, the public sector banking was crashed out and private sector banking started up, and ICICI made a benchmark. HDFC made a benchmark. You know why? Because of the mindset. It was not like they were not able to get the trainings done. They were not able to give them the proper infrastructure to get trained. It was the mindset of the people down the line. That is where the changes are to be done. Like in MSME, I am from the MSME sector. I belong to a company. In my whole career, I have been into small scale industry only. I have worked in 3 companies only, which are very small companies, like their businesses are very small. But thinking innovative had been a change point in all these 3 companies. My first company, our slogan was either bring in some innovative product or don't develop anything. My second company was, okay, follow the guidelines of customer, improve your technology. And today, I have been associated with this company for the last 17 years. And this company is in this business for 40 years. And our slogan is very simple. Don't change because your competitor is changing. Change because you need a change. Rightly said by Bino, it is not important that your customer has bought that SAP thing in his premises. You need to buy that. No, you can work with a simple ERP system by choosing the right modules, by integrating those right modules into your right, what I earlier said, functional requirements. So now coming back to Mr. Gautam, that yes, the new generation is very much digital ready. I have got 2 kids. One is 11 years old and another is 9-year-old. Daily basis when I go back to my home, I learn a new technology from them. They show me their mobile, okay, Papa, I got this update. You know what it will do? It will kill all the bugs which I'm facing problem for my games. Oh, surprising. That 11-year kid is teaching me. And I'm ready, very much adaptable to that. Okay, very good. So the new generation which is coming into industry, they are very much digital ready. The only thing which we have to do, we have to select the right technology for the right industry. If you are a small scale industry, you need to think from that perspective.
That was my next theme, incidentally. It's all connecting up very nicely. So thank you. Over to you, Mr. Bino, quickly.
Yeah, I touched upon the culture thing in my previous response. Right. And of course, IoT or Industry 4.0 will bring in some concern as ERP is bought in 20 years ago. Okay, let's be real about it. We are talking about people, we are not talking about machines. So that's a real point. But it's again, how did we overcome the ERP concern? Everybody thought they will lose their jobs and all of it. It was retraining, skilling, proving, communicating. So I was one of the, recently we just went live with a company, ERP company, which is already replacing one of their ERPs, one with a ERP that we were offering in the textile business. And 15 companies went live, 15 locations went live at one shot. And the whole idea was that they were able to quickly pick it, adopt it, and move it, and they saw benefit from the previous ERP that they were using. So it's all about, the culture that you create, the vision that the management brings in. One of the things I've been talking when we sit in steering committee meetings is, sir, don't go ahead with this project, IoT, ERP, WMS, any piece of this, if management not going to back it. If it is saying that let's throw it and see who kicks it and where it goes, then it could be a self-goal. It can't be a goal for you, but it could be a self-goal. Now, coming to your point, I think I've fairly covered the cultural and the people part of it. It's very important. Retraining, communication, all of that have its own importance in the whole thing to be done. Like a charter is communication, right? In itself, project charter that you mentioned, Sunil. Now, when it comes to SMS,
SMEs, yeah.
Small and medium, SMSEs. Right. I would want to take it in a little differently. There are mature industries that would want to adopt a few things quickly because their industry per se is adopting it. And there are some industries like aerospace and defense, component manufacturing. Automotive is a very mature industry that I see. These are the ones that are willing to carry and take this up first. Instead of going to somebody who is in the foundry business and tell them about IoT, and then he gives you 400 reasons why sensors will not work in those temperatures, which could be a genuine problem. But go to the areas that are already mature, willing, have seen their counterparts in the globe benefiting, and then bring the whole thing and work it for us. Ultimately, it's the vision of the management that is running the organization and their clarity of competitive advantage or covering a pain that they're going through that will make this a success.
I think, thanks for driving.
Just to add to one sentence I will add, because it is about SME, what Binu said, this whole thing can be broken down into baby steps. And not that, your entire business profitability happens in the first baby step. But if my first baby step means I am now going to get my data contextualized on my computer within 5 minutes of it happening. Is it happening? First baby step. The 2 days decision making reduced to 1 hour, that is benefit. Is it paying for itself? Yes, it will pay for itself in 2 months. 2 months later, let's take the next baby step. What would be my manufacturing intervention? Let's implement this particular technology or this re-engineer. So if we can break down my project into baby steps, it will pay for itself. But it is very critical that we know what we are asking for.
Absolutely.
We have to decide.
Yeah. Good point, Gautam.
I think there's a clear consensus here, in terms of, taking risks, in terms of, creating building blocks, in terms of, starting small, because we all know little drops go on to make a big ocean. So I think, these philosophies are, I would say, or these thoughts are as relevant as ever. Okay, as somebody rightly said at the start, now whether COVID or no COVID, or pre or post, I think, certain, business fundamentals and philosophies are here to stay. Okay, so what I'll do now, coming to my last theme before we, take the concluding views and comments of all our esteemed panelists, I would just like to quickly chip in, and I think I start with Mr. Sachin again. Now, if we were to actually, narrow in or zero in, on some X or Y, technology partner, and we want to choose the right technology, and we want to go ahead. Now, how should I actually start doing this? So, any guidelines, any potential pitfalls, any risks? Now, how do I go about it? How do I choose a partner? How do I choose the technology? And do you have some general tips, guidelines, pitfalls, or things that you actually need to look at? Okay. Again, for many of us, this could be a hypothetical question. Maybe we are not getting into an implementation journey, but assume it happens sometime in the near future. Now, how do I go about handholding the right technology partner, choosing the appropriate technology for my area of business? What would be the guidelines or the governing factors or the pitfalls? Over to you, Mr. Sachin.
Well, started with my last topic's end line that we should know and we should select the right thing from the right technology. It's not necessary, like as Binu rightly said in the last topic, that Industry 4.0 is not itself is a small technology. It's a bunch of technologies. It has lot many things in it. It relates to your daily data management. It relates to your production management. It relates to your daily logistic management. Everything is coming under one umbrella. So now as far as if I am concerned, I got 7 companies in my group. And out of those 7 companies, we are doing out sales from 3 companies, and 4 companies are our mother companies. They're supplying parts to us. So integrating all these companies all together is a very, very important thing. The first thing is the risk management analysis, which I would do if I start for this chapter. I know what is my risk. My risk is if my orders are not going within the time to the dealer or the distributor network, my competitor is ready to supply. So I need to integrate my dealer and distributor network orders till the mother company, from my sales network to the manufacturing company to the mother company. So this risk assessment is very much important. How much time is needed there to flow this order line? How much time is needed there to bring the parts from mother company to the manufacturing company, kind of thing. So first take is risk assessment. Second take is, how would I manage my team in terms of adaptation of the new technology? How will I draw the training lines? How would I draw the needs of trainings for my people? How many of them are ready for the technology? How many of them are inbuilt with the technology? They are coming from other companies and joining us with knowledge of that base level or not. So the second thing is preparing the training graph and requirements for the people inside the company. And the third point, which I would take care, is how much I can take from the existing equipment or existing infrastructure lying in my own company. As rightly said by Mr. Gautam, they re-engineered the things from their own company and brought it to a level to the management. Okay, we could save the money. We are the people who are thinking about the companies rolling in finances. So that will be a more important point at number 4, definitely, that how would I save the money investing the technology simultaneously? Because for SMEs, it is very much important. Paying 100 rupees for a packet of hand wash is very tough. Paying 10 lakhs of rupees buying a machinery is very easy.
Okay.
It is a fact of Indian MSME. You know, this has been shown by this COVID thing very clearly by many. I don't know.
I agree.
Many of you who are listening to us right now can understand this very easily.
Very true. I do understand priorities, focus areas.
Yes,
and
very important.
all these financial dynamics work when it comes to taking these decisions. I think very aptly brought out. I'll quickly go to Mr. Gautam. Your approach in terms of choosing a partner, choosing the technology, or your approach, would it be
before I say
what you will do exactly?
I would like to make one not a disclaimer, wrong word, but a risk in answering this question itself.
Okay.
Don't pick anything that is going to take time, because you do not know. Before you implement, the world changes again. Your world. I'm not talking world in general. Your world, your market, your business, your product, your customer. Because therefore, implementation and improvement cycle time has to be shorter than the average business cycle that you have before it changes. For example, it takes 3 years for your laptop to get older. Don't try and change your computer system, which takes 4 years to implement, because before that, technology is going to change. It doesn't make sense. This is not an aircraft carrier that it will be surviving for 40 years. Then you have a different plan that how you're going to upgrade technologies in the aircraft carrier for next 40 years, which is going to change at least 5 times, 6 times through the generation. So that's my disclaimer to the answer. But
excellent.
Now I will try and attempt the answer. And I think, Sachin more or less kind of addressed it from. So business is the real reason of your implementing or buying technology and changing people. Business value. So do you have first assessment, do you have a very immediate term risk, which is actually killing your customers, which you're creating customer dissatisfaction, which is like an immediate impact on your order, on your account receivables, on your brand image, or whatever it may be. So that needs to be sorted out first. If there is no such risk, if there are only improvement, look at a slightly larger, holistic view of your business and look at what can give you faster returns. Make sure there are faster returns. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to sustain a transformation. Oh, 3 saal baad aayega iska return, 2 saal baad aayega return doesn't work. You have to have a short-term return plan. That yes, immediately as soon as I start implementing, within a month, since I'm going to take my database, contextualized database decisions, I'm going to reduce the 3-day cycle or the Friday evening board meeting cycle to an immediate response based on notifications and reminders that is sent through email. I am going to improve my decision-making efficiency, and you would be able to see a reduced cycle time for design to manufacturing and therefore to the market. So based on these, what are the short term? Then once you have laid these things down, and I'm talking business value, there is no technology discussion right now. There is no people change, people transformation discussion right now, because business is the mother of everything. Business value is everything. Nobody is going to, there is no, for the sake of technology, change. Okay, just because 3D printer is available, let me buy it. ये घर का television नहीं है. I'm not going to upgrade my organizational asset. So business, once you have the business value map it with, and this exercise doesn't take more than a week. Business value is known to us. We do an internal workshop or whatever meeting, sit down. That's the business value. What are the shortest path to benefit? Shortest path to benefit is an analysis we need to do. What is the shortest? Design is releasing engineering bill of material, and when manufacturing starts working on it, there are mistakes. That is a serious error, because it entirely pushes the cycle time back by 15 days to a month. I'm going to release my design tomorrow to engineering, to manufacturing. Today there are design changes. That is serious. You have ordered your die to your tool maker and you're giving him design change 5 days before the die delivery is due. These are sinful errors, cardinal sins, right? You can't expect your efficiency to be improved, right? These are the topics you are facing. I have got 5 physical prototypes to make. Look at how to reduce it to 1. Make the other 4 on computer. If that 5 is taking 5 months and your 1 is taking a month, reduce it to 1 and do the rest in simulation in 2 weeks. You're reducing the cycle time from 5 to 1 month. These are basic thumb rules.
Excellent.
Okay.
I think
that's where I just gave some practical examples.
Excellent. I think whole lot of points. Just to quickly sum up what Mr. Sachin and Mr. Gautam said before I move on to Mr. Bino. I think some very key points that came out were focus on process and pain areas, operational metrics, okay, business pain areas before you even choose the technology. Okay, stick to basics. Try and understand whether you are actually getting or deriving business value out of this. And most importantly, try to crash, optimize, or shorten the project implementation time itself. Don't make it a long story or a long journey, where people come and go, it's forgotten and, priorities are lost. So thank you for bringing in all these perspectives. Now, as usual, coming to Mr. Bino, anything that you would like to add, sir, before we close?
Yeah. I think I think pretty much I agree with what Sachin Sharma has mentioned and Gautam just brought up. One of the terms that you should check us out on Google is Infor Agility. We are actually breaking our ERP implementation into rapid sprints. So, so I totally, concur with what Gautam mentioned, that you can't have a 6-year-old project and know that, we were sailing towards Greece, now we have to go towards Australia. We were actually going towards Australia kind of thing, So technology is rapidly changing, and you need to know that. One is that point. I think that's a very good point, I think, as a basis, apart from business value, which is very crucial, again, touched upon. Third point, I would want to say from a technology aspect, this is again not, assuming that the business things are stated. Technology, you have to look at what do you have in your existing toolkit. What is the enterprise already with? Let's not try to throw all that out and get something great and big, because
you can't keep reinventing the wheel, and make it complicated.
Thank you. Second is that, one is that. Second is there is always great point solutions by startups. Will that work for you? Is that fulfilling a business requirement, or are you looking the whole process? So startups will come and fade as the flower of the grass and the flower on the field. I respect startups; they have their place in the whole ecosystem. But we need to look when it comes to business. When companies are putting money on something and know that when they needed support, the startup is vanished, and the guys have joined somebody or got bought out by somebody who is now looking at taking it somewhere else. That becomes a risk. You like it, you don't like it. Business, that's a risk from technology. So you need to look at playing with players who will be able to either solve your point solution. As again, Sachin and Gautam mentioned, is it a knee joint pain? You have a pain that you want to handle and somebody is helping you do that? Or is it an ache in the whole body and you want to actually generally look at solving at a higher level? So, these are some of the things. There are many other challenges. Like one of the other parallel items I want to talk about is something that is, again, I've been very actively in touch with it, so it comes to a recall very fast, is in the process industry, the PLM. All of it is happening in R&D. You need a new coffee, there is a recipe, the old recipe formulation changes. Like in automotive, the BOM is there, and fine tune the BOM, replace it with an alternate item, and then come out with a new item. Same way in recipes, these guys have been working on Excel sheets, because they have regulatory compliances, they have label compliances and all of the other things. And then suddenly when everybody is asked to sit at home and work, you have all the more problems because my sheet is telling me something and your sheet is telling you something else. So again, I want to be cautious about the fact that at a IoT level, when we stretch out, we should not slip off the chair. Our chair should be a strong foundation that IoT helps us to leverage, that it should not break the whole thing. So I'm just giving another perspective in addition to all what the esteemed panelists have given.
Brilliant, I think.
Just one more. Before you do decide anything, make sure that whatever you're deciding has to be open. Because tomorrow you may have to add something more. It should not say, oh, you know what? No, you can't. You have to do it from within. Open system is a word which we all are using, open and scalable. Today you
totally
say
agree,
5, tomorrow for 50, day after for 500. Today
Yes.
X, tomorrow Y may come from somebody else.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Plugged on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there has to be, very true, I think that there has to be a focus on an open source architecture, or you think of a software as a service model, okay, where you can plug and play and it becomes financially efficient also. So thank you all. So I think the overriding views that I get to understand and listen to is, I think technology at best is only an enabler. Okay, it is all about people, process design, it's about company culture, it is about risk. Okay, it is about taking those small little steps that actually have a business and a consumer impact first. I think it's about looking outside in, looking at the market, the demand, and then working backwards. Okay, it's not as if an inefficient process can feed into a very jazzy technology. It should rather be the other way around. Why not have a technology that can support a very efficiently and well-designed business process to begin with? If I may just add my 2 cents based on what I have understood from my esteemed speakers, I just try to summarize it. Now we come to the last part of today's discussion. I would urge each one of you to spend a minute in terms of your closing thoughts. We go back to the drawing board. Manufacturing 4.0, industry 4.0, reimagined in COVID times. Again, some quick nuggets of advice, 2-3 key words, some words of wisdom in terms of where we are heading, and what the next month or 2 is going to look like in terms of the whole technology landscape, or what companies should be really looking at, in addition to what I've already said. Anything that you want to add? So I would like to begin with Bino this time. Maybe I give you the first more advantage.
Yeah.
Maybe you can spend the next minute just to share with us your closing thoughts and comments. Over to you.
I think post and before and after the pandemic, first thing is I may sound very cliched, but I think it's very important. I hope all of us continue to be safe, and our colleagues be safe, and that's very important. All of this will happen only if we are safe. So God willing, all of that be safe and good, and we find a vaccine very fast. But coming to IoT industry, I think I would always advise companies, if I have to leave a message for all the audience who is listening, I would always advise that take bite-sized, look at what you want to do as an objective from a business perspective, and ensure that you are able to benefit it in short sprints. so that over a period of time, the whole thing can be done. It is future proof, and you can build on it like a Lego, and that's what really works out. These are the couple of things that I would want to really leave on the table if I have to think about, while we ensure that our enterprise foundations are strong and built on rock solid foundation. Yeah.
Brilliant, I think. Real nuggets of wisdom. Okay. Short sprint, start small, build a base, take it forward. Excellent. Mr. Gautam, over to you.
Yeah. So I would, again, there is no difference. He's talking about from readiness point of view. I'm talking from the market point of view, which requires shorter sprints. One, I think this is one opportunity where small can fight against the big. Okay. I'll tell you why. Economy of scale is going because batch sizes are reducing because of mass customization, because my need is different from yours. Okay, if economy of scale is reducing and mass customization is increasing, the big company advantage of having large volume is eroding. I'm not saying it's gone, but it's eroding. This is an opportunity, therefore, for medium and small scale industries to be able to be more innovative. It's not that they will suddenly become more relevant on its own. No, they also have to make an effort. The effort would have to make a bit more smarter products. There is no other place for another set of manhole makers manufactured in the world. It's already being done in our neighboring country. Okay, in terms of volume, we cannot fight that war of volume. We have to fight the war and battle of smartness. So if I am making something, invest in intellectual capability of upping the ante of the product innovative index, if I may call it. Make it more innovative. It doesn't matter. Even if it is one component which is forged, make it matrixed so that it reduces weight by 80% by maintaining the mechanical or any other capabilities that it has. Okay, if you are making a forging tool, see if it can be done in the 3D printed stuff in a shorter batch. I'm talking about at not 2% improvement, 10% improvement. I am talking about 100, 200, 300% improvement. That is where we would start making a difference, and the small can, have a headbutt against the big and yet win. I think if there was an opportunity for small to be equal, the Goliath versus David, this is the moment.
Excellent. I think very interesting thoughts with regard to focus not only on process but on product design, engineering, and how that can actually enable the potential for meaningful technology investments. Last but not the least, I can see Mr. Sachin Sharma smiling at all of us. So over to you, sir.
It's not smiling at all of you, but definitely I would take both the co-panelists as very intelligent and very bottom line speakers, and I will take just one word out of both the things: choose right, choose wisely, but be quick. And the time now is for all the Indian industries, all the Indian, maybe any industry, is to open the mouth, the eyes, and the ears of the three monkeys. Be ready. We have to be spoken, we have to be listening, and we have to be watching. Thanks. That's my take.
Very well summarized. So thank you all, my esteemed co-panelists. It was a pleasure asking questions and having these wonderful conversations. Thank you to the team at Entrain. Thank you, Kiran. I think we are through with our discussion, and thank you for your wonderful insights and wisdom. It was an absolute pleasure and privilege to be talking to this esteemed panel. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and thank you for this opportunity again. Wish you all.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sachin. Thank you, Binu.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you, Binu. It has been a very learning phase for me.
Thank you,
for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sunil.
Thanks, Neil, for giving the opportunity. Thank you very much.